Well, good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing on this fine summer afternoon? I guess that could vary depending on where you live at. You'll notice there's no Nico tonight. He's still on hiatus. He will be back the end of the month on our next show, which will be the 27th. So I see everybody popping into the chat there. I see a lot of familiar places. Familiar places. I mean familiar faces. Give me 1 second here. Too much light in my face here. I can't see. That's a little bit better. All right. Hey, the third rail. It's nice to see you show up in here. Hey, Ted, it's good seeing you again. Let's see. I see a whole bunch of people in here. I see Brian in here. I see some people talking about GP60s. Let's see. Sorry, give me one moment here, folks. If you're noticing any issues with the audio or anything, please let me know, since I don't have a co-host remote to let me know if they can't hear me or see me, or hopefully you can't smell me. That'd be terrible. Although I did shower today. So we got, me. I got a few different things lined up tonight we're going to go through. We're going to take a look at some different ways that you can store and transport your rolling stock and locomotives. I'm going to give you my feedback on the BTO convention that I attended. Let me look at my list here because I can't remember what else I had on there. This is why we mark these things down, so we remember. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I got that right. So I tell you what, let's look at our sponsor video here from Split Jaw, who's so gracious to continue to keep sponsoring the show. And as soon as that's done, I will pick right up with what type of future events we got coming up here, because there's a few. I'll be right back.
The following episode of Large Scale Live is brought to you by Split Jaw, makers of quality metal products for the G-scale modeling world. For rail clamps, expansion joints, bridges, and more, Split Jaw Products has you covered. For more information, visit their website at www.railclamp.com.
And I'm back. Hopefully. Oh, I see several people let me know I'm coming through loud and clear. I agree, William. The BTO does rule. I see, Ted as well. I see I got a few new viewers that have followed me over from the BTO convention. I saw John Molesworth in here and a couple other people. I apologize. The chat's kind of scrolling fast on me there. So let's pick up with what events we have coming up here. Oh yeah. There's Jonathan. He'll keep me in line tonight, I'm sure. Oh no. Lawrence Otis. Larry, I tell you, you got to tell my wife that, you're not for her. Like, that's all she talks about is Larry ever since the convention. I'm just kidding. Larry was a highlight of the convention, though. Hey, there's Gordy Allen. Nice to see you. So let's take a look at what we got coming up here as far as events. And as always, if you go over to the website, largescaletrains.com, I do have an event calendar on there. Depending on how wide your screen is, you might have to go to the drop down. But I always like to point out, if you have something, what? I'm going to have to ask her about that, Larry. At any rate, if you have something coming up that's large scale related and it's not on the calendar, if you come to the website and go to the event submission section, you can actually fill out the info. You can upload an image of the flyer or anything you may have and submit it. And once I approve it, it'll show up on the site. So going to the events calendar, the first thing that I came across that's coming up will be September 10th, is the Columbus Garden Railway Society's Fall Garden Tour. Now, they're these comments are going to start cracking me up tonight. The layouts and everything aren't listed yet that's going to be on the tour, and you'll notice this is just a screenshot from the site. If you go to the website and click to read more, it'll take you over to their site. But I believe it says on here, tour will not be final until the first week of September. So you'll want to check their site. But their tours are always great. The best way I can describe it, you're not going to see all the layouts typically. I'm not sure if anybody in the past has seen all the layouts. They're spread out and there's a bunch of them, but I can guarantee you if you go, you're going to see a lot of great layouts. There's no cost from what I remember. I don't think I listed any cost on there. So you pretty much just get the information, show up, and check out the tour. I'm sure you won't be disappointed in that. I came across this browse on Facebook. The Tulsa Garden Railroad Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is going to be having their own tour Saturday, September 16th and Sunday, September 17th. That one does have a cost. It's $5, but that's admission for your whole family. Thank you, John. I appreciate you approving the post on the BTO group. I know you guys had to switch to that after all the spammy people started making posts. That's been a real problem on Facebook. That I really appreciate you guys being on top of approving the post as quickly as you are. But anyway, back to the the calendar here. The tour is $5, like I said, and that's for your whole family. If you go to their website, they do have a list of different layouts in that. And as an added bonus, if you go on this tour, I believe, where's it at here? Reindeer Pass Railroad will be open, I believe, both days during that tour. So if you'd like to go and give Vernon some money or see his in-store layout that I believe he's been working on, you can do that. A lot of you may remember Vernon when he was on the show, or you may actually shop with him already. But I highly recommend you check it out. Oh, I see Joseph Lipinski says, what'd you say, Joseph? Yeah, the all scale show in Amherst. Yeah, that is January. The large scale show, I believe, is going to be the end of April again. The Plumber 33, yeah, you definitely got to check out one of these tours. You will see a lot of different stuff, a lot of cool stuff. Also coming up, that's September 16th as well, the Greater Cincinnati Garden Railway Society in Cincinnati, Ohio, is going to have their G-Scale swap meet that has the added bonus of being hosted at Entertainment Junction. If you've never been there, I believe it's the largest indoor G-Scale display, at least in the U.S. I'm not sure if in the world. Wonderful, wonderful display to see. Lots and lots of time has gone into it. You definitely want to check that out. But that's going to be September 16th from 10 to 1:30. And you will notice a note down here at the bottom of their flyer. Their space is limited because there's another something else going on at the same time. The fall show is usually a little bit smaller than the spring one, but I've gone down for both of them, and I've gotten great deals at both of them. Hey, there's Zachary Riggins popping in. He's a fellow Cincinnati Garden Railway Society member. How you doing tonight, Zach? Let's see. I thought we had something else on here. I shouldn't be forgetting something. Let's see. Oh, yeah, how can I forget that? So we'll also have September 29th and 30th will be the RLD Hobbies Open House. I'm trying to think if I've done the spring ones. I will be at the fall one. Actually, Nico and I both will be at the fall one. Let's see here. There's some proof that Nico and I were there last year. It was a nice warm day. You can see both of our heads were looking kind of sunburnt. You'll be at RLD, Jonathan? Get out of here. I didn't think so. But pretty much bring your trains and you can run them. He's got a very large layout behind the store. Nico's not here to defend himself. He says, tell Nico to stay away from the back end of my train. Nico would say, well, you're not supposed to set up your train on the main line, but I'm just repeating what he said. Oh, wait, there he is. There he is. So he told me he wasn't going to be around. Yes, Jonathan better watch his caboose. But yeah, September 29th and 30th. Robbie has marked down the Mount Carmel Super 8 is where most of the people stay at. There's a couple other hotels around there you can stay at, but there's not a large selection. You got a handful of hotels. So if you're thinking about going and you're going to stay and you're not bringing your pop-up camper to sleep in like Jonathan, make sure you get yourself a hotel booked. I know mine's already set up. Let's see. Back up here. Yep, that was the last thing that was on my calendar. Let me check my spreadsheet here to see what I had next I needed to talk about here. So we did that. So another item. Let's see. Give me 1 second here, folks, to find the page I want. You're too broke to pay attention, Brian? And I'm not sure what Larry Otis is asking here. Do they have video cameras in the rooms? No, not at the hotels, Larry. It's not that kind of hotel. Oh, Dunbar. Thank you for mentioning that. I don't know how I missed that. PA Railroad Museum Garden Railroad Tour is Sunday, October 1st. Let me see if I can find that real quick. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Let's see. See if I can get the info for that up on the screen here. Just asking. Well, you know, someone has to ask. You put the link in the chat. Well, if you put it in the YouTube, well, I don't think that's going to let you put actual links in the chat, Larry. It's kind of a safety against nefarious spammers that get in the chat and they decide they want to start putting links to places people don't want to go. Let's see here. Where is... Well, I'll tell you what. I can come back around to it. What you can do, Larry, if you're online or if someone else is, if you are friends with me over on Facebook, just send me a private message with the info for the link to get to the Strasbourg Museum with the info on the tour, and then we'll come back to that so I don't spend forever scrolling around on the screen here. Now let me find the tab I had open. Let's see here. All right, so we covered the events. Remember what I was looking for now. So if you are a Blue Nami person, I have not bought any Blue Nami yet myself because currently they only have an iPhone app, and I am not an Apple person. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I'm just not an Apple person. However, if you are a fan of, where'd it go? I watch him every now and then. Ken Patterson's What's Neat This Week in Model Railroading. He had George, I'm going to say the last name wrong, George Bogatuk on his show. And he actually was talking about, sorry, don't have my phone on silent here. Give me 1 second. Get rid of that. So he actually mentioned that they are working on the Android app. He has the beta version on his device right now. And he said it should be available to everybody in the next few weeks. And if you take a look at the chat, I can put links in there at least. Here is a link that is queued up to take you right to where the video starts, where George talks about the Android app. But please go watch it after the live stream. Oh, and I see Nico and Larry Otis both sent me. Guess I'm going to have to give the win to Larry Otis. I think he got it to me first. So let's see here. But like I said, you should see, yep, I put the link in the chat for the Blue Nami stuff. So you'll want to check that out. If you're been waiting for the Android app to come out, I may actually get a Blue Nami board to check it out now that hopefully in the next few weeks that an Android app will be available. And hopefully Larry didn't send me some, I don't know if I can trust this link, Larry. Where's it going to take me? Okay, all right. It took us someplace safe. Yeah. As Manimal said, and actually I'd like to give Manimal, Dan Gilchrist, a credit for sending me the link for the announcement on the Blue Nami Android app. He's always sending me interesting, sometimes useful things to read. But real quickly, so the Garden Railway Tour for the PA Railway Museum is Sunday, October 1st. And you know what? I'll put this link into the chat so everybody can see that. I'll try and get the website calendar updated so that it's on there. But this is always a pretty decent tour to go on. I haven't done it in a few years. But the layouts are always usually pretty nice on that. I just haven't been able to make it over for it. All right, so let's see. We talked about the Blue Nami. What else do we got here? Okay. So let's see. We talked about that. Another thing I wanted to mention, and I apologize if I say your last name wrong and you're watching and I butcher it, but I believe it's Manny Rials, I think is the name. I happened to see this in one of the buy-sell groups. Why is that not updating? Oh, wrong tab. So one of the buy-sell groups, I happened to come across this. He's actually making a think about it like for your phone, your cases for your phone. He's making a case for the RailPro remotes that actually you can slide your remote into it. See if not. Yep. Let me pull it up. So you can slide your remote right into it. He's got the cutouts in there for access to the charging ports and everything. It's got a lanyard attachment on the bottom. He's kind of got some textured texture on the side there to kind of give you a little bit more to grip onto when you're holding on to it. Hey, all right. I got the last name right. I guess I'm not as bad as Dackman. Although I do miss hearing him butcher people's names, so I didn't have to. Okay. Yeah, it's made from carbon fiber resin. But I actually will put this link in the chat as well to take you to that Facebook group. If you'd like to check that out, there he is modeling it nicely. If you'd like to check that out and get a holder for your, and there's his logo. Get a holder for your RailPro remote. All right, so let's see here. I think that might be the last thing I had on the list, but give me a second here to double check. I did want to mention the GP60s, some of the final ones with electronics are finally starting to go out. This is the, get that out of the way, the microphone. This is the NS Southern Heritage version that came out. Now, when you look at this, you're going to see battery plugs. That's not a factory thing. I added those myself. But they are finally starting to show up, a few here and there. I've seen a couple other people get them. We can talk about this a little bit more later on. But I just wanted to let people know those are starting to show up. I know Robbie's gotten a handful of them in, and there's supposed to be more coming. So if you've been waiting on them, hopefully, sorry, one second. Okay. If you've been waiting on it, hopefully it'll be showing up. No. Huh? I don't know what Jonathan's talking about. He's crazy. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss something in the chat here, everybody. Just give me 1 second here. And I don't have someone else watching it. Let's see. Okay. So don't look like I missed anything. And Nico will always use Revo. Oh, let's see. What's Larry Otis saying? There's a new train ride in Maine, runs from Rockland, Maine to Thomaston, Maine using RDCs. Hey, that sounds kind of cool, Larry Otis. So let's see here. I do want to mention I will have a giveaway towards the end of the stream tonight. Make sure you stick around, and if you want to find out what that's going to be, I keep saying me. I'll let you know what that's going to be here in a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about the Big Train Operators Convention. I think it was probably one of the most relaxing weeks I've had. And I met a lot of great people, Larry Otis included. No, I met a lot of great people, and I really hate to start naming people because I'm going to forget somebody. Larry Otis is hard to forget, especially when you walk out of a store and he messages you from across the street somewhere, letting you know that he can see you. Yeah. I see you there, Larry. What's that now? Third rail, the Blue Nami. Has it got a programmer interface? What I know on the Blue Nami third rail is the app. You can pretty much configure everything from the app. It's actually a full-fledged DCC board. It'll do DCC, or you can run it with the app, and the app will let you go in and adjust everything. It's pretty well in depth. If you check out the link I put in the chat a little bit ago, and I'll update the description of this video to try and have some of these links. But if you check it, he kind of shows it a little bit in there. Yeah, I agree, Johnny. I think he is stalking me. And yes, as we're talking about the BTOC, the convention was in Birmingham, PA this year, and it will be there again next year. And I welcome that because it was an absolutely wonderful time. But I met a lot of great people there. And one of the interesting things, the Birdenhand Family Inn where we stayed at, and I know we're here to talk about large scale trains, but every now and then you do have to relax. So The hotel there, what you're looking at here is an indoor pool in the front. And back behind it, I don't know, that's probably like a 20-person hot tub. So you got an indoor pool there, you got a hot tub, you have a second indoor pool, and you also have an outdoor pool. And yes, I tried all 4 of those, and they were all wonderful. And I'm not going to show you a picture of me in the hot tub. Nobody wants to see that. And if you noticed off that one picture, the hotel, the Bird family, and they do have a game room in there. I wish I had some more pictures of inside the hotel. Well, I do have some of the convention room in that, but it's a really, really nice hotel. I can't. If you want to know the story about Larry Otis and Speedos, all I can tell you, you're going to have to come to the convention and have him tell you the story himself. I'm not going into that. I'm not going into that. So the convention itself, as you can see, there's there's Larry Otis over here. You got to keep an eye on this guy. Okay, I'm just telling you. No, I'm kidding. Larry's a great guy, but there was a really great turnout for this convention. I think it was some of their highest numbers post COVID. But you know, every day was a little bit different. There was something different going on each day. Whether it was taking a trip to the Railway Museum of Pennsylvania, yep, I said that right. Going to the Strasburg Railroad to go on a train ride, and I wish I could remember the name of the other 2. I didn't go on the one ride. If one of you could drop in the chat for me the name of the other 2 railroads that we checked out when we were there. There was a lot of different things going on, and you don't necessarily have to go do everything. If you want to not participate in something and take a day off, which I did the one day and enjoyed the hot tub, you can. But the biggest thing I can say about this convention, like if you want to know what it is, it's not like going to the East Coast train show. It's not a great big huge hall full of trains for sale. It's kind of more like an NGRC convention, but you know, NGRC, there's always tons of layout tours and stuff. And although the convention may have some of that stuff, you know, depending on the year and where they're more about going out and doing stuff as far as, you know, going to visit a museum. We went to the TCA museum that was over there the one day. But the best way to describe the BTO is it's like a family. I loved everybody I interacted with there. It was a really, really, really great time. Oh, I see Ted said Garden Railroad tours next year at BTO. Okay, so that's good to know. And I see Ted said the one railroad was the Northern Central Railroad we went to visit. And as Dunbar said, it's a train family get together. I like I said, I had a really good time there. Lots of good people, lots of good conversations. I'm trying to look here. I had another picture here. Actually, I got a lot of pictures, but give me a second here. So just to kind of give you an idea, one of the things that was kind of nice, the convention room is open, I believe, every evening after all the other daily activity things are done. But one of the things I thought was really neat was every night they had different stuff that you could buy raffle tickets for. And what you're seeing here is just, you know, an example of one night. And I forget the young man's name. I think it was Paulie. I'm pretty sure his grandfather had to have him ride on the roof so he could haul all the trains home that he kept winning. But I mean, sets, locomotives, it was amazing to see the amount of stuff that they had available to do raffles with. I believe this one here that you're seeing, this was a special Max set that was done. Sorry, just looking at the chat here. Okay. And this here, this was actually a banquet raffle prize for the very end of it. This was a BTOC locomotive for this year's convention. And that reminds me, I have to find the my show car. Everybody that attended the convention at the end of the banquet got their own show car to take home with them, and they were really well done. Yes, exactly. What John's saying when we were looking at that picture of the Mac stuff. That's some of the last stuff that Heartland produced. I believe you guys bought a good portion of their stuff when they were going out. Let's see here. But as I said, it's not like a big train show where there's stuff for sale all over the place, but the convention room, this is just one corner of it. This was all stuff that was for sale. I'm trying to see if I have any other pictures from there. I think this is the raffle table, but there was a good bit of stuff for sale there. I thought everybody that was selling stuff had really fair prices. I got some good deals on some stuff. Yes, Jonathan, I bought some Revos while I was there. Sorry. Yeah, this is just the raffle table again. But it was a really, really good time. And if I feel like I'm struggling to give you like a definitive definition of this it's because I am, because it's just, I don't know how to explain it to anybody other than going and experiencing it for yourself. It was a really good time. And one thing I will mention, and I don't think I'm incorrect in saying this, but the big train operators, as far as I know, are the only national club for G scale. As in, there's members all over the U.S. There's members overseas. I actually got to meet a lot of people from other clubs, and it's interesting to get to talk to them and see how things work in their clubs or what type of stuff they're doing. It gives you a chance to network and make connections with a lot of people, a lot of good people. Let's see here. I'm just looking. Sorry, just double checking the chat there. It gives you a chance to really meet a lot of great people. So let's see here. Now, one of the things that I thought was really, really cool at this convention. Let's see here. I am correct, Ted. Thank you. I wasn't sure, but I didn't think there was another club that could actually claim being a national club. One of the things I thought was really neat is there is a large pond behind the Bird in Hand Family Inn. Let me find a picture here. Those are videos. Well, this picture probably isn't going to do justice. I'll probably have to go to the video. Oh, yeah, you were thinking right along the same lines as me, Dunbar. So this isn't a great picture. This is actually looking at the pavilion over at one end of the pond. If you happen to watch the live stream when I was there, that's where I was sitting at with Charles at the picnic table doing the live streams. That's funny that Larry Otis says that. I never realized the model trains, how much of a draw that would be for Amish families. When I put my train on to run it out there the one day, by the time I was done putting it on the track, it felt like I had about uh, 5 different Amish families with their kids standing around waiting for me to start running the train. And I ran the train around the pond. They followed it all the way around, and it was kind of hilarious because as I would get back to the pavilion, it was almost like giving train rides because that whole group of Amish families would peel off, and there'd be a whole other group that would come along, and they'd follow it all the way around watching it. It was actually kind of nice to see that it was bringing enjoyment uh, to the kids. And actually, I was surprised that a lot of the Amish are actually pretty knowledgeable about model trains and that. There was one young man I was talking to that was telling me all about GP40s and SD40-2s. But let's see here. Yeah. I tend to forget about that sometimes. Jonathan, the fish guy where he lives at, is actually an Amish community around him. And I didn't realize he's actually had them stop to check out the train. So I've never seen them stop when I've been there, but I can believe it after being over at this convention. Let's see. So this might be kind of hard to see. This is actually looking out over the pond at night. It was actually really, really nice out there. Yeah, exactly, Gordy. They came every night to watch and have ice cream because there's an ice cream stand right there. I don't have any pictures of it. There's also a miniature golf course right there as well. I don't follow your comment, Nico, but I'm sure Jonathan will be offended by it somehow. So let me see if I can get a video up here. Actually, here's a picture while I look for that. This was actually Tim Stump running his train one morning. You can see he's actually got his BTOC locomotive in the train. Let's see here. Let's see. What am I looking for? 3, 4. Sorry, 1 second, everybody. Thank you, Tim. That's what I was going to ask. 1,184 feet of track around the pond, which is nothing to scoff at. And I do have to commend, well, number one, I have to commend all the people involved with the BTO that put the time and all the effort into making the convention happen. I know you guys do quite a bit throughout the year to make sure everything's ready for that. There's a lot of stuff to do, but I was also going to say the crew that set up the track around the pond, I have to commend them as well, because that was definitely a lot of work as well, a lot of track to haul down and set up as well. So let's see here. Give me one moment. Just see if I can find what I'm looking for here. I think this might be the right video. It might be the wrong video. Well, it'll be a video of the pond. I'm just not sure. My preview's not showing correctly for some reason. Let's see here. And it's going to run all choppy for some reason. See if we can get that to smooth out. So that was my train running there. And I just kind of panned around here to kind of give everybody an idea of the size of the pond. And as you can see, it's a rather large pond. You walk about 10 laps around there following your train, and you got a little bit of exercise in for the day. Exactly. That is a huge layout. And I'm assuming next year that we're going to have the track around the pond again. I hope so, because I thought that was kind of fun to go out there in the evening or the morning if you're like Tim. Let me see here, though. I noticed that video was kind of running choppy on me there. Let me see if I can do something to fix these other ones before I try to play those. I'll have to upload the videos directly and see if that fixes my issue, so I can come back around to that. I'll show you a couple other pictures here real quick so I don't bore you. Let's see. So as I said, that's a very good question. I usually try to point that out and I don't. So to attend the BTO convention, you need to be a member of the Big Train Operators Club. But the cost of membership is very minimal in my opinion, and I'm trying to remember what it is. Let me see here if I can find on their site. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll put the link in the chat here for anyone that wants to go and look on their site. I know it's on there. Thank you, Ted. It's $50 a year for a BTO membership. And I would like to give credit to John and to Tim as well. It's $50 a year. You get 4 quarterly BTO magazines that have a lot of good content in them. The 4th one of the year has a nice full 12-month pull-out calendar, which I submitted my photo for that yesterday. Hopefully that's not too late. There is additional cost to attend the convention, obviously, because you got to pay for a hotel and different things, but I don't think it was extravagantly expensive at all. I think it was really reasonable, in my opinion. Opinions can vary, of course. But let's see. I think I put the link in the chat. But if you go to that link, that will take you here to the no, Nico, not a centerfold. Well, maybe if you ask Larry Otis real nice, you might get a Speedo centerfold just for you. Just saying. And yes, as I said, and as Larry said, you do have to sign up for the convention. You can't just show up for it. So let's see if these other videos I was going to show you showed up here or not. Real quick. Looks like they did. So this first video I'm going to show you was Tim Stump decided to get up bright and early one morning to go walk his train, as you'll see what I mean here. So I apologize for the video being a little bit shaky there. I was doing that by hand, but there's Tim walking his train. I was on the other side of the pond, so I started zoomed in all the way and kind of slowly zoomed out to kind of give a feel for exactly how big the pond was. A lot of people I'd see get up in the morning to go walk their dogs. G-scale people, we get up in the morning and we go walk our train around the pond. And if you were curious to see the train that he was running there up close, I do have a video of that here. So yeah, and yeah, that took Tim a little while to put all that on the track. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure what else I can say about the convention. Um, I really don't know how to describe it because it was a really good time. Um, not to mention, it's going to be in Burdenhand again next year, which is over in Amish country. If you want to go and do something completely non-train related, there is all kinds of stuff you can go do. It was a convention. It was a vacation for my wife and I. She enjoyed it as well. Um, let's see here. Looking for one other thing here. So, as I said, you got to watch Larry Otis because I looked away for a moment and I come back and here's Larry Otis and here's my wife. She left me for Larry Otis. I turned around for 10 seconds. I can't say I blame her. I'm sorry, Larry. I know I keep picking on you. You definitely made a big difference in the week. There's always something going on when Larry Otis is around. So let's see here. Real quick here, I'll show you. I forget which one of the other two railroads this was. This was one of the ones we went and visited. It was a rather short ride, but they actually have a reproduction of the coach that President Lincoln was in for his funeral train. There's actually a reproduction of the coffin in there made from the original prints as well, it was actually really interesting to see. This picture here is from the Strasburg Railroad, of course. That was a really good time there. Thank you, John. Northern Central. I know. I'm not 100% prepared. I never am. But I usually at least have someone else here with me to, do some talking while I scramble to find the info that I missed. That was on the train. And I don't see her in the chat tonight, but a lot of people know this lady standing back here, our friend Taya. She's always a great ambassador for the hobby. Harrisburg, let's see, what? Harrisburg, Lincoln, Lancaster, and something. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have had that info pulled up, guys. But I believe that's one, like, you can't just go and visit that. That was kind of an interesting place to get to. It was kind of like back off a gated road. Taya's famous. Yeah, she absolutely is. Here late was in the pool. Now let's party. Well, I'm not sure how exciting a party it's going to be with me, but we'll see how it goes here. So let's see here. Give me 1 second to take a look here. Made myself a spreadsheet so I could try and make sure I didn't miss anything here. So I tell you what, let's move on to taking a look at storing your equipment, storing it, transporting it, all that good stuff. So I do get a lot of questions on that from time to time, and there's different ways you could go about it. So, that one railroad we were at, I agree with John. The shirts were a bargain. They were $5 a piece. I bought one for myself and one for the wife, actually. I got to find it. It's lost somewhere in the pile of stuff that came back from the convention. So let's see here. So obviously, you have I'm not answering any more Speedo questions. I'm sorry. Larry, you need to start your own live stream. Speedo live. I don't know, something. What? See, you got to have your own show now, Larry. Nothing but Speedos. So there's a lot of different ways that you can store and transport your stuff around. Obviously, well, I'm not sure where the box went. You can always put your stuff back into the factory box. If you're like my friend Kyle or like my cat Luna, life is all about boxes. But it's not always the easiest, most efficient way to move your stuff around. So what a lot of people have done and what I do is I've actually started using storage totes. Let me see if one second here. I got a couple pictures here, but I didn't realize I didn't rotate them. So what you can do is you can actually use storage totes and blankets. Plastic bread trays? I don't think I've seen the plastic bread trays. Nico's being a big help tonight. He is? I don't know. So there's a lot you can do. The hardest part I have with the storage totes is I find the ones that work for me, and then they stop making that one and they change them up. But this particular tote here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in there. And I always save the chunks of foam in that because they can come in handy to cut up to kind of nestle your stuff in there so it's not banging around. But as you can see, I got 2 tank cars on the top there. And after I take those off, then I've got a tank car and I've got 2 more box cars on the bottom. Now, unfortunately, what you really can't see in that photo for some reason is the very end of that tote. If you're eagle-eyed, you might see a Revo remote laying there. In the end of this tote, I'm actually able to fit the aristo-craft 2-bay covered hoppers or any other car about that length in the end. So I can actually, if I take 2 of those totes, which is what I took over to the convention, you can actually get a pretty good sized train out of just, several of those totes for carrying your stuff around. As far as transporting your locos, and actually, yeah, I agree, Larry. Wheeled totes are a lifesaver for your back. I will say at Harbor Freight they have those 2-wheeled collapsible hand trucks. I bought one of those before I went over to the convention, and that was actually really great for wheeling those around. Or if you know Brian and you got one of those totes, you can fit about 45 Heartland minis in a tote, which I would believe. But give me a second here because I got to flip around to the table I got behind me here. What size? I don't have that tote in front of me at the minute, Bruce. I apologize. Sorry, give me 1 second here, everybody. I got to look for this. Drawing a blank. What am I looking for? I remember. Let's see. Give me 1 second here, everyone. All right, so I'm going to flip around behind me here. I'm going to try and yes, the tank cars could use some cam pack boxes. I agree. And I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat here when I turn around here, everybody. So I apologize if I missed something. But let me flip around to this other camera and we'll take a look at a few things here. Just give me one moment here. Yep. All right. I think we got the right camera there now. Let me drop this other out of here. Get rid of that out of there. So, yeah, we're looking at the GP60 sitting behind me there, but give me 1 second. I've actually got some more light here to turn on so we can see better. As I said, we'll talk about that GP60 in a little bit here. So, see if I can get my microphone to reach over here so I can still talk. Well, it sort of kind of reaches over here. We'll see how this works. All right, so as we were talking about totes, let me grab one of these other ones here. And of course, I'm going to knock something over, I'm sure. So, and I apologize if I fade in and out. I'm trying to make sure I talk into the microphone here. So, I know we were asking about the other tote I had. I couldn't tell you what that one was. I can tell you this is a hefty high-rise tote, and they do make several different variations of this. There's longer ones, there's shorter ones. I like these because they have a little bit of extra room on top. So when you stack these up, you don't have to worry about having weight sitting on top of cars that are in there. So this particular tote is a 72 quart hefty high rise. These are nice because they have a nice latch on the both ends of them so that the lids are staying on there nice and tight. And as you can see, as I said, you know, the lids have a nice depth to them. And let's see if I can do this without destroying something here. All right, so if we're taking a look at the top of this tote, most of your 40-foot cars will fit into these totes. I have a gondola laying in here, but you can fit 3 40-foot box cars across the top of these. And what I actually use for dividers that come in handy, this is just corrugated signboard. You can buy it in 4x8 sheets at Home Depot and Lowe's, I believe. You go to a sign shop and buy it, but it cuts pretty easily with a knife. I have used chunks of cardboard and other stuff to divide them up, but I mainly just put it in there so that the cars aren't rubbing against each other, the grab rails aren't breaking off of them or anything like that. But it comes in pretty handy. I really don't want to disassemble this whole thing, but let me take one more car out of there. And actually, you can see down here, the bottom layer of this, I've actually got 2 cars in there, and I actually lay them on their side. If I stand them up, it makes it too tall to where the lid's actually sitting right on the top of the cars, and It might be okay, but I really don't want to take a chance of crushing things. But you know, one of these totes, you know, you can fit 5 cars in here, and if you take, you know, 4 of these with you to the RLD Hobby Open House or the BTO convention, if you remember, you can fit a pretty good sized train in there. And as you can see, just in, you know, placing this stuff back in here, that was a lot quicker to put that stuff in there than it was to load everything back into the styrofoam trays, put them back in the boxes. Not to mention, 5 cars in this tote takes up less room than stacking up 5 cars in their factory boxes. Although I will say, typically the factory boxes are probably going to protect your stuff the best. You know, those boxes were designed, most of this stuff is manufactured overseas. It gets loaded in containers and gets shipped over here. And it's going to protect it pretty well. But for throwing in the back of your vehicle and driving someplace to run, you can't go wrong with storage totes. And sorry, I'm just turning around here to take a look at the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, I did see a comment there from Andrew as far as being consistent with the brand so that they stack well. I do agree with that. I do have a mix of a couple different brands. I've been switching most of mine out to these high-rise totes. They stack really well. Let's see here. And yes, and what Joseph Lipinski is saying here is true. So if you're familiar with injection molding and that type of stuff, you can even see looking at this video here, the tote is not square. It's got a taper to it. You know, it's a draft angle for release from the molding process. So when you're buying totes, make sure you measure down in the bottom what the dimensions are. Because I've got some that are tall enough that I could probably fit 3 cars wide across the bottom, but due to the taper on them, I can't fit them. Hey, thank you for stopping by, William. It's good seeing you again. Have a good evening. So let me set this back in here. And we'll take a look at something else here. So let me try and not kill myself here. If you see the camera banging around there, that's just me. Actually, I'm going to have to step in front of it here for a second. I've got like 3 tripods sitting up in here, and the feet kind of take up some room. So when it comes to your locomotives, there's a couple different ways that you can go with that. Sorry, just looking at the chat here, making sure I didn't miss anything. So give me 1 second here. So a pretty simple way to transport your locomotives is just a pretty simple carrier. And I did not make this. Somebody else created these. And this is actually just a pretty simple. It's a heavy wall. It's a heavy wall cardboard, and it's actually starting to come apart some. The ends actually have wood on them, and I believe this is just nylon lifting strap material. And if you're having a hard time hearing me, let me know, guys. I'm trying to make sure I'm talking into the microphone here. But these are pretty nice because you can just set your engine in there, you can pick it up and carry it off. Now, I do have a couple pieces of foam that were wedged in here because when I haul stuff like this a distance like the RLD, you know, it can rock around in there some, and I don't want stuff to get messed up. But I mean, for the most part, it's just pick your engine up, and set it in there. And you can see it's got foam down in the bottom so that it's got a little bit of cushion bouncing around. But it's a pretty simple way to just, not have to put it back in the factory box. And you can make something like this fairly easily out of some scrap wood that you have laying around. And I should point out what I'm trying to do mostly tonight is I'm trying to show people different ways you can do this. I'm not really selling anything or marketing anything, but just to kind of give people ideas, because a lot of times, even myself, I know I see stuff and I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe I didn't think of that. So this next item I'm going to show you, there's some of you in the chat that may know the person that made these, and I'm going to ask you to please not put in the chat who made these, because they're currently not making them right now, and I don't want them getting pestered by people to make them cases. But I have several of these. See if that got on the camera okay. Might have to rearrange some things. Wait a second. So what you're seeing here is a wood carrying case. Sorry, just checking the chat here real quick, everybody. So, okay. So this is actually a pretty nice case that was done up. It's all wood, and the way this works is these top panels are actually grooved and they slide out. Now I don't have a locomotive in this right now because it would have been a little bit cumbersome to be showing you this with a locomotive in there. So these top panels actually slide out, and then when the locomotive is in there, you'll see these dividers. This very end one is actually just a door for the end. And then these subsequent ones that are through here are actually ones that are cut to fit different places of the engine. So once the engine's in there, these will actually slide in. I'm trying to do this one-handed. These will actually slide in, and they capture the engine, and they actually they eliminate it being able to rock side to side or bounce up and down. But what's really nice about these cases, as I flip it around here, is you'll see there's rails inside of here, and what this allows you to do, just slide it out of the way. The end's actually routed out here at the bottom. You can actually slide this right up to an end of a siding or whatever. Slide two joiners across there if it's track power. You can run your engine out on track power. If it's battery, obviously that doesn't matter. But what I typically use these for, diesel locomotives are fairly simple to pick up out of a carrier set on the track. Steam locomotives, especially with their tenders attached, can be a little bit cumbersome at times. So these cases are actually set up for Mikados and Pacifics, the Aristo ones. And I can leave the tender attached. I can leave the wires plugged in between them, and I can run them straight in, back out of the case, and call it a day. It actually makes it really nice. Let me see if I'm missing anything in chat here. Yeah. See, you know what I'm talking about, Mikey. And actually, yeah, Mikey says here that he made a ramp so he can drive his in and out of the case. I do have that for this one. I'm not sure where it's laying at the moment, but I do have the ability to actually set this on top of a straightaway. And then I got two rails that actually kind of curve down and come down to the top of the track. You know what, Larry, and I completely agree with you. The USA GG1 does have quite a few wheels and articulations going on. So yeah, that can definitely cause you some issues. So this is kind of a more elaborate way to transport your engine, but it does have the added advantage of convenience. And like I said, and once you have all these pieces back in there, once you slide these top panels back in place, see if I can do this without hitting the camera or the GP60. Once you slide those back in there, all of those panels are locked in there. They're not like your engine's captured in there pretty tightly. I wouldn't ship an engine in this. That's not what it's designed for. I mean, you can haul it in your vehicle to wherever you're going, but I definitely wouldn't put an engine in this and then send it off through UPS or something. But, you know, this is a pretty nice design. And mainly, this has the same thinner wood that was for the top. It has panels of it kind of incorporated in there just to kind of reduce the weight of this. It's not a super heavy box, but once you have an engine in there, it does add up a little bit on the weight. So, and let's see here, make sure no one had anything in the chat. So the final thing I was going to show you as far as transporting is actually, I've seen other people do it, but it's actually part of the packaging method for the GP60s when you get them. So this is just very simply a piece of plywood, and it's got a couple of grooves cut in there for the wheel flanges to sit in. Now, what housekeeping did for the GP60, they've actually got these two pieces of wood affixed here that actually keep the engine from being able to roll back and forth. So when that's sitting on there, sit that on there, and then there was actually plastic and stuff wrapped around this. But what you're ripping, that's Velcro. What housekeeping did is once it was on the board, if you hopefully I don't roll this engine off on the floor because I don't want everybody to see me crying on a live stream. But once that's sitting on there, if you do this right, you can take and put two Velcro straps around there. I'm not going to do the second one for sake of time, but as you can see from the side there, you know, you'll have another Velcro strap there, which will hold it down, and it makes it pretty easy to just pick up the piece of wood and carry it. Now, I've seen people that go the extra mile, and they'll put maybe some short sides on there and a handle that comes up so they can carry it. But it's a lot better than picking your engine up and carrying it around by the dynamic brakes or underneath because, you know, there's piping and different things. And believe me, I've broke plenty of that off on things. But it's a pretty simple way to be able to transport your stuff around. Let's see here. Not seeing anything new. Oh, I just saw something in the chat. What do we got here? Very good question. Are those pieces behind the motor blocks or between the axles? So if I turn it here, let's see. If you take a look, I'm trying to look at the camera and move my finger at the same time. So there's your piece of wood. Where it's actually sitting at is right behind the closest wheel to the fuel tank. So it's actually right up against that wheel on each side. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of movement there, and that's mainly just from the rock in the trucks, not physical rocks. Rock as in, you know, back and forth. It seems to do a pretty decent job of keeping it from moving around. That's actually a pretty good idea there, Larry. He uses Velcro for holding his stacks of track together. Yep. Sorry, I didn't turn around and see your comment there, the third row. But yeah, so anybody that else maybe had that question, they can see that. So Yeah, that actually works out pretty nicely. Um, so let me see here. So I'm looking for something I sit on the floor here. So the other thing I'll show you, we'll get away from talking about transporting your stuff. Let's say you just want to store your stuff, you know, for your own railroad. Let me take this camera out of here. So you may have, in the videos, you've seen my stuff sitting behind me here. And all this stuff is doing is I believe that's 3/4 inch or 5/8 plywood. I can't remember at the second. But it's basically just like this board. I ran it through the table saw and I cut grooves in there to capture the flanges of the wheels. So if you look at like this shelf here, you'll see that the wheels are just sitting down in those grooves. It's important to make sure your shelves are level so things don't roll off on the floor. Again, no crying on a live stream. Now I can't quite get back there to show them to you, but these shelves that are in the back, those are actually too wide. What I can show you is I do have a cross piece here of when I was making those. Hopefully nobody gets seasick from my camera work here. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that. Brian's going to take some pictures of what he does and post it on the Facebook group. And that's something I don't plug enough is if you haven't, if you're on Facebook, there is a Facebook group that is for the show. If you go to the website and go to the drawing a blank here. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. If you go to the website, there's a link on there that will actually take you to the Facebook page, for the Facebook group, and the group is simply just large scale trains. If you go into the description of the video on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see the link for it in there as well. And Brian's going to post his pictures there. He says, "Yeah, the Infinity Hobby Channel. I knew you were going to see that green GP60 there." So let's take a look here. I set that down. So this is just a cross section when I was originally making those shelves. This is how deep they are. Pay no attention to that. That was an oops cut there. But that's what the shelves are back behind us there, is just that. And I have a set of trucks. So as you can see, set of trucks. I don't want to drop those because those are metal trucks. That'll hurt my foot. But they just fit right in the grooves. And it's pretty easy when you're setting stuff on the shelves. I mean, you set it down and kind of slide it. The grooves drop in there. You're good to go. But that's what the shelves behind me are pretty much made of. The third rail went to the nuclear option and decided to just put a roof over the whole layout. Let's see, Andrew. Can I get 2 tracks wide with grooves on a 1x12 pine board? I think you can. Let's take a look. So there's my shelf that's behind me. And if you take a look at the tape measure, which is upside down, that's 12 inches, which is actually more than enough. I probably could have made these grooves a little bit closer, the two lines there. But yeah, 1x12, you can definitely fit 2 rows of cars on there. Let's see. So One other thing I was going to show you, well, a couple other things I'm going to show you. I'm trying to look at my time here. Looks like we're still doing good on time. You know, those shelves are ones that you can obviously make. And let's see if I can do this. Flip around here. So these are shelves you typically don't see. Oh, yeah, I forgot to turn those lights on up there. Let me grab my microphone here so it's not away from me. One second, everybody. Trying to watch the chat and the mouse. So these here, and these are actually not something designed for what they're doing. I believe these were actually, Jonathan, the fish guy, can probably tell me what the heck it is, a sill plate or something like that for like sliding doors. But as you can see, or maybe you can't. And if you're hearing sound from my PC, that's someone messaging me. But these just happen to work out the right spacing for G-scale. But what's nice about this type of shelf for storage or display is there's no shelf brackets, as you can see. And if you look right here, see if I can get in there, you'll see a screw there. I think those are a couple inch long screws. Those are actually straight into the studs in the wall. And that's all that's in there. Is they're spaced every, I think I went every stud, and that's going down the wall. And that holds quite a bit of weight. And even though I do have these spaced apart a little bit, you can probably get them closer. So you can actually fit a good number of items up there. And if anyone's wondering this, that's a Bachmann -9 sitting there. Let me turn back around here. However, you can buy you can buy shelves. Sorry if I cut out there. I turned away from the mic. You can buy shelves like that. Let me flip my camera back around here. Let's see. And there I am. Whew. And looking sweaty too. Let's see. So there is a company, and I know they used to come to the East Coast show, called Glenn Snyder Display Systems. Let me get their site up here so you can see it, and I'll put the link in the chat here as well. So they actually sell extruded shelving like you see there. Let me put the page up. And they actually sell it for a bunch of different scales as well. And you'll see here in this picture, it's pretty much, why am I not zooming in here? Well, I'm not sure why I can't zoom in, but you'll see back here, it's pretty much the same concept as what I have on the wall there. And they do it for G. Let's see. So you can see they have a couple different combinations of it here. They have ones that'll do HO and S, O, and then their larger one actually does O standard gauge, and they have marked LGB gauge G scale. 6 foot sections, $44 it looks like. But you're looking at the cross section there. And up here at the top, that's where you're going to run screws through into the studs. You are correct, Joseph. There used to be one called Train Shelf, and I was trying to find info on them before the stream, and everything I found pointed to they weren't around anymore. So as far as I know, Glenn Snyder is the only one that has these shelves. I take that back. I believe I think it's Mr. Train that does shelves as well, but they don't go up to G scale. The largest they go to is O. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to display your stuff on, these are a great option, and they don't take up a ton of space either. But like I said, I put the link in the chat there for Glenn Snyder Display Systems. Like I said, it's a really nice product. It's really similar to what I just showed you up on my wall there. Let's see here. Let me take a look at my list here and make sure I didn't forget something. Let's see. We talked about that. Oh, well, let's see. Let's talk about when you don't want to run your stuff and have to pick it up and tote it back in the house. There are a multitude of different ways you can go about this. You can go the extreme option like the third rail did and build a whole roof over top of your layout, which, that works. I did want to show you a friend of mine, Perry Ratliff. And actually, I'd like to put a link in the chat here because he's actually got a Facebook page for his garden railroad that I think you should check out. Where is it at? There it is. So this link here is actually for Perry's Facebook page for his Mill Valley Northern Garden Railroad. But this is actually a carrier that he made a while ago, and I happen to still have the pictures and that of it, and I asked if I could use it. But if you look at his carrier, this actually sets down right on the rails, and all it is two pieces of aluminum angle. And let's see. So it actually sets down right on top of the rail. I think I got a better picture here that'll show that to you. Let's see. Yep, I think that one does. So this is kind of a more straight on. You can't see the grooves cut out of the bottom of the angle very well, but this will actually set right down on a piece of a straight section of track, and you can run it right off of there. And I do have a video here. I just got to find it. Perry actually does a nice job of demonstrating how this works. It'll just take me a second to get that video loaded up there. I'm actually loading it right into StreamYard, so it plays better than if I'm streaming it in. Actually, here's a good picture looking underneath that carrier. To give you a better idea. You can see here underneath how it's kind of undercut, so it sits on top of the rails and locates. So here's a video of Perry showing how this actually works.
So here's the new carrier. It's running on track power right now. Pick her up, take her wherever you want to go. You gotta find a way to secure it on here, but I'll work on that later. It's nice and lightweight, aluminum channel. It's pretty good. Pretty pleased for my first one.
All right, so that's that carrier. So what I want to show you here. Sorry, I got no less than 3 monitors in front of me here, and I'm trying to. Hey, Mike Gates, how you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while. I remember Mike being on the show for. I'm sorry, my mind is drawing blanks tonight. Yagas Creek that makes all the track, very fine quality product. You may have seen him on the live stream a while back. The third rail. Maybe I should take the roof off again. You mean you've done this before? So let me find what I was looking for here. So if you don't want to pick your stuff up, and actually Perry really doesn't have to pick his stuff up because he's actually got a run through section on his, which I can show you here in a moment. But I wanted to show you a couple other layouts I've visited on tours and different stuff. So I believe it's on the Columbus tour. So this is actually a large outdoor layout. And what you're seeing here is this is running into the shed, and the main actually passes through and comes back out the other side. Well, once that goes inside the shed, and for some reason my pictures got out of order here. Where did they go? Oh, it's right in front of me. So once that goes through inside the shed, you'll see to the left here, this is where the tracks go back out and the layout continues. To the right is actually a storage section, and it's kind of hard to see in there because it's kind of glowing in there. But since it's just storage tracks for cars, what this person did, instead of spending money on track, it's just plywood. They took and cut grooves in it, and the cars roll right down the grooves. But what they did, and what I really like that gives you a better picture, is this backside picture of where the car storage is at. It's actually not in the shed or the backside of the garage, whatever you want to call it. They actually just added this, we'll call it a car barn, off of the end of it. And yeah, some of you may actually know whose layout this is. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they just use that corrugated fiberglass roof stuff on there, and they just store all their cars right there. Let's see here. So that's actually a pretty nice way if you don't have room to run stuff into a big area. I'm trying to find another one here. And I know I'm trying to watch our time here. If you don't want to run stuff inside, there are options like this layout. And I'm pretty sure this is on the Columbus tour. I saw this one. Yeah, Shelby and Sparta, that is Columbus. So you'll see this building to the left here. They actually built a car barn that sits out on their layout. And as you'll see here, it's actually got lift up sections on the roof that actually have gas struts on them, like you'd have on the hatch on your SUV or something. You can actually see a little bit better. Actually, take that back. It doesn't have gas struts on it. They've actually got props on there to hold them up. And it's actually open on the other end, just like the first end, and you can run everything straight through there. Because one thing I will say, having to pick up and, carry multiple trains in and out of the house is just the pits. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy running the trains. Having to pick them up and carry them around, not so much. So Perry was showing us his carrier earlier, and I got a video here, but he's actually in his garage. He kind of did the same thing. It runs through. He's got a portal outside. Well, that wasn't the picture I was looking for, but we can zoom in back here. And Perry just actually used, I believe they're just doggy doors. They happen to be the right width and the right height for mostly everything to fit through there. So he's got an entrance on this side of the garage, and there's one that comes out the other. But coincidentally, what you see here is when you build a tunnel and you don't allow for your friend Matthew's big boy for its articulation to clear when he's running it, you got to bust out the trusty Sawzall and you got to open up that tunnel portal. That was a rather interesting day, but I got to tell you, Perry made sure he made accommodations for his friends to be able to run that day. Let me see here. I've got a video that will actually show you how Perry's run through in his garage works. I believe it's this one here. Sorry, give me a moment here while I load those videos. Let's see. I haven't taken a look at the chat here. Let's see what we got going on in here. I agree, Third Rail. That is true friendship. Oh, Mikey, you have a video of that? Oh, you're going to have to send that to me sometime. That was a pretty good time. Just looking to see if I missed anything else in the chat here. Let's see. Well, while I'm waiting for that to load up, I will show you some pictures I have of a layout I saw down in Florida. No, take that back, Atlanta. So when the NGRC was down there in, was it 2018? This is actually coming out of the house. You can see over by the house back here, there's actually a portal going inside. And this large bridge you see laying here, you can actually see back here an attachment. There's actually a pulley system up above this that they can actually pull, and that it actually lifts and tilts it up out of the way. But the thing I really liked about the setup that this person had is when you have multiple tracks inside that you want to run onto, switches start taking up space. If you've got 3, 4, 5 tracks and you start building a yard ladder, you're going to start losing room. Now, somebody in the chat might be able to tell me who made this. I don't know that it's made anymore, but right inside that door, I believe this would be considered a slip switch. So rather than having a whole stack up of yard tracks coming in to get to these, basically these rails just flex and they pull over to line up with each one of these tracks, and it eliminates having to have that stack up of switches to get your the amount of tracks that you want. I was looking to see if I had a better, I guess you don't see that in this picture, but you can see that slip switch allowed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks to run in. Okay. You were down there as well. Yeah, that was a really, really neat setup that they had. And I wish I could remember who made that slip switch. Actually, here's a closer up picture of the slip switch. And that's basically all it did was it slid over and lined up with each one of the tracks. Sliding switch. Yeah, I'll go with that, Tim. Sliding switch. But I don't know who made it. And I believe there was someone that commercially made that at one time. And that actually was a pretty neat design. So going back to talking about Perry's layout, and I'm going to apologize in advance for the shakiness in this video. This is one that I took quite a few years ago. There was no video stabilization, but what you're going to see here is how his layout passes through the garage and goes out the other side. Let's see here. Hey, I think you're onto something there, Brian. I believe you are correct. I believe that's a stub switch. That's the word I was looking for. So here's a video of how Perry's layout passes through his garage. And where it entered at there is where we were looking at earlier, where you saw Perry cutting the tunnel for and that section that it just ran through actually moves out of the way for when he's parking the garage. But it actually passes right through the garage and goes back out the other side. And as you can see, he's got a couple of other tracks back behind there so that he can just run his stuff right back into the garage and store it when he's done playing with it. You know, it's a really, really nice setup to have, you know, and you don't even have to run it into a garage or a shed. I don't know if I got a better picture or not. You know, a lot of times, I'm going to pick on my friend Harry here. You'll notice these nice glass block windows back behind here that are just the right height, the same height as the track. I've seen people run their stuff into their basements. They take and put a doggy door or some other type of opening, you know, where a window is at, and they have a suspended track. Ted Descaris, if any of you know him or if you've watched his videos, he actually does a similar thing. His stuff's suspended inside. I've given my friend Harry a hassle for years about how nice it would be if he could just run his stuff inside. And his answer to me all the time is, "I'm not putting a hole in my house." To which I reply, "You're not putting a hole in it. There's already a window there. You just got to take out some glass block." But yeah, you can even run your stuff into your basement for storage. Now, one other video I'll show you. Again, this video is a little shaky. This is actually a layout that is on the Cincinnati tour. And if I remember correctly, I believe this is the owner of Entertainment Junction. It's a very beautiful layout. And I don't know that he stores his stuff this way, but the layout did run into the basement and back out. And I just thought it was kind of neat because the way his doors open and close is actually pneumatic actuators. If you check this one out.
I'm sorry, but when I see these, all I think about is Adam's family.
You can definitely tell the difference between the LGB and the USA Rail or the...
So that one was actually kind of neat because it's all sensor activated. When the train approaches outside, it actuates and slides up the door. The train comes in and goes out the other side and closes the other end. Oh, that's how you do it, Andrew, through the window and into the basement. That's what I would do if I had a basement here, but unfortunately I don't. And let's see here. No, we're at 8:45 here. I do want to say we will have a giveaway here at the end of the show. I'm actually going to give away a $25 gift certificate for RLD Hobbies. Robbie was actually kind enough to donate that to the show for us to give away. So make sure you hang around here if you'd like to win a gift certificate for RLD. If you're going to be going to his open house the end of September, you can just hang on to it and use it when you get there. But we'll get to that here real shortly. I'm looking for something else here. So I want to mention, find the link for it. As you've seen Jonathan popping up in the chat tonight, Jonathan the fish guy. Okay. Yeah, Mike Gates says that was a stub switch we were talking about before. And he says there's a thread from 2009 with a picture of it on post number 8. I may have missed. Okay. He said that was made by Trainly. Interesting. Have to see if I can find more info on that, or if Mike can maybe provide me some more info. But as you've seen Jonathan the fish guy in the chat, I'll drop a link to his YouTube channel in there. If you haven't followed him, you probably should. You may learn something. You may be entertained. If you're like Paul Carr, you'll say that he's your YouTube hero. So Jonathan kind of did a bunch of different things. His trying to think what you call it. So the fort. That's what Jonathan calls it, the fort. No, Mike, the URL didn't come through. It, like I said, because of spammer people and that dropping stuff in the chat. I have to turn that off, or there'd be links going to things that people don't need to go to. If you want to send me a link through Facebook Messenger, you can. I believe we're friends on Facebook. But Jonathan, why is this thing? There we go. So Jonathan actually has several things going on. He's got kind of your standard shelves back behind. He's actually got a run-through section. The thing I wanted to zoom in on here, let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Give me a second. There we go. So if you look at this storage area that Jonathan has, now the route I took was I actually cut grooves in the plywood for the wheels to roll into. And you'll notice what Jonathan did is actually, rather than cutting grooves, he just attached strips of wood on there. And let's see. You've always been famous, Jonathan, especially in Australia where Paul Carr lives. Yes, that is his shed. No, it's she shed. I don't know about that. And I'm looking for the info. Give me 1 second here. I asked Jonathan earlier what he used, and he said that is just lattice is what those strips are. He didn't have to rip anything down or anything like that. And let's see. So yeah, it's lattice strips. It's sold 3/16 by 1.5 inch by 8 foot. And it's a lot easier than running a board through, especially if you're doing something wide like that. You know, you're going to be running through the table saw a lot. You know, it basically drops in between the backside of the wheels and locates them on there so they can't roll, you know. Well, I mean, they can obviously roll front to back, but it makes them roll in there nice and evenly. Now I will show you, let's see here. Trying to think. I got a video of that. So let's take a look at Jonathan's run-through storage that he has set up there. Where is that at? Here it is. So outside of that side of the shed, Jonathan actually has a helix that he built, which is impressive, to get his way out from ground level up to bench height in the shed. And as you see him running through here, so he doesn't have to do backup maneuvers, he's actually got a reverse loop on the other side. And all Jonathan is actually doing there, on each side, there's a lift out piece of track, and he's just using double hung windows, if I remember correctly, right, Jonathan? Let's see here. Sorry, 1 second here. Sorry, trying to look and see what I got here. Free is free. I agree with you, Jonathan. I was looking for another picture here, though. Where is it at? Here's one that actually shows you. So the side you saw the train coming in, This is the helix that Jonathan built outside. And again, as I said, if you follow the link I put in the chat, you can actually go over to his channel and see all about him building the fort, building his helix. I forget what the percent of grade is on this. Is it 2%, 3%, Jonathan? I can't remember, but it's not too terrible. If you watch his videos, you'll see it's not that bad. And it actually gets everything up to bench height. If anyone is wondering, someone asked how large Jonathan's shed is. He said it's 12 by 16, and he'll tell you that it's already too small. 2% grade, Jonathan said. So, and then the last picture I'll show you of his shed setup. This is the reverse loop, actually, that's out the other side, so he can loop around and go back through. Careful there, Infinity Hobbies channel. We don't want to make Jonathan's head swell up any more than it already is. He knows he's a big deal. And I agree. No matter how big you make a building, it's never going to be big enough. Okay, so let's see here. I think I may have covered everything I wanted to on storing your stuff, moving it around. Actually, let me set up. Let me set up for the giveaway here real quick so we can actually start collecting stuff on that. Because we're getting closer and closer to 9 o'clock here. Give me one moment here. A little bit too much water. Let's see. And please don't put anything in the chat yet for the giveaway. Nothing is running yet. I gotta go in here and enter the info in for that. But I'm trying to find my link. There it is. Larry, I feel like Nico gets robbed all the time. Back when he used to be able to be in the giveaways, I would request that you send that directly to Nico as his constellation prize. I think he would treasure that for many years to come. Let's see here. Okay, so you second that as well? I agree, Joseph. Oh, Larry, you're always the life of the party. Let's see here. Let's see. All right. So if you feel inclined to do so, in the live chat, either on Facebook or YouTube, all you have to enter in is hashtag RLD to enter to win a $25 gift certificate for RLD Hobbies. Now, I'm sure that just about everybody, I think, knows RLD Hobbies. But if you don't, I will, in the chat, drop the link to Robbie's website. For anyone that has not been to his site before, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend you check out his open house in the fall. It's a really good time. So while people are putting their entries in for that, good grief, I got messages from all kinds. Oh, there's some info I was looking for. So how can I do that? I actually got the info on that slip switch from my friend Gary Simpson. Let's see here. Where'd that picture go to? That's what I'm looking for. Make sure I got the right picture here. Yep, that's it. So that uh-oh. Starting to freeze up on me there. Let's see. So Gary was nice enough. He actually found the info and sent me, as Mike Gates said earlier, that was Trainly that made it. And that was a Y3, Y5 staging switch. Build staging yards in smaller spaces up to 5 locomotive tracks for less cost on a turntable. Looks like they made a couple different versions of that. But I'm guessing, that's the only place I've ever seen it was on that layout, so I'm not sure if they still make that or not. Interesting. Well, there's the info on that for anyone that may have been interested. Let's see here. I see we got all kinds of people jumping in the chat for the RLD Hobbies gift certificate. Let's see. Just double checking my list of things here to see if I forgot anything. See, we went through that. Went through that. Jonathan's stuff. Ooh, while we're collecting the signatures, I did want to touch on a little bit of 3D printing. I haven't done a whole lot myself lately, but as always, our animal friend Dan Gilchrist is always churning away the late night hours because I really don't believe he sleeps. If you go to the website and you check, hey, that's what I was looking for earlier when I was trying to tell you how to get to the Facebook group, the resources and links section. You can actually go there and there's a link for the Facebook group and several other things. I actually need to update this. There's some stuff missing. But if you go to the 3D printing section, I've been trying to collect useful prints and stuff, and this actually links you to Thingiverse and some stuff's on Printable. I'm not actually hosting any of these files. I was trying to stay away from any type of issues with that. So one thing that Dan drew up here recently that he has hosted on Printables. Sure, I'm okay with that. Oh, and it opened in a different tab. I hate it when it does that. I'm talking about something and you're not seeing it. What's that, Wigwag? You're looking at a Creality K1 Max 3D printer waiting for it to be released. I haven't heard anything on that one. So one of the files that Dan drew up recently, some of you may have seen these in the real world, pictures of them or not. There is such a thing as a GP7 or GP9B unit that was a cabless unit, almost kind of like an F unit, an NFB unit. And the file he drew up is basically just this section to replace the cab. So you can take your USA Trains GP7/9. You can take the cab off. You can print this file, and you can actually drop this on there and make yourself a B unit. And then for the walkway, because it's actually smooth when you take the cab off, he's actually got a picture here. It's JTT Architectural Model Parts. They actually sell a diamond tread that you can see in the picture matches up pretty darn close. But that's not the only thing that he's done, because as I said, I don't believe Dan sleeps. So I don't have any pictures of the final engine, but Dan actually did several files, do modifications to the aristo-craft U25B. So what you're seeing here, the U25 has got to be probably, if you're going to model a U-boat and you want to be able to modify it into other U-boats, the U25 is probably the oddest out of the bunch because it's got a real long nose on it. The cab sits back pretty far. So what this file here does is for making a U33B, this allows you to chop the nose in the front, slide the cab forward, and then this is the filler section you need to put between the long hood and the cab to fill that back in. I agree, Brian. Dan probably does have a crew of elves that it's like Santa's workshop, but for 3D printing. So that's actually one of a couple files. So he's got the filler piece that goes behind the cab. He also has, if you're modifying, I really wish this stuff would quit opening a new tab on me. It's probably the way I designed my website. This here is actually a replacement piece for where the smoke unit goes on the U25s. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that, Ted. Info. Oh, all right. I'll check that out, Ted. Exactly. And the third rail, I say your name wrong, Rikus. I have to say, since you joined the Facebook group, and I've been watching some of your YouTube videos, the stuff you do is absolutely phenomenal. You and Dan are both in a class of your own. I don't ever aim to compete with the talent that you guys and many others out there have. It's just not in my wheelhouse. But so yeah, this is a replacement for the exhaust on the U25. Let's see, there's a couple other ones here. Okay, this is another piece that's, dang it, got to keep opening another tab. I'm going to have to shoot that guy that designed the website. I don't know who that was. So there's not a picture of this in place, but the U25, wait a minute, I got one here. Where's it sitting at? Yay, I picked it up without dropping it. So the U25, if you look in the, where's the camera? Look at a little window there. You'll see that it's one great big windshield, which is kind of unique to the U25. So what the file does that Dan has there, as I try not to fall out of my chair, is actually a filler piece that'll make it into a split windshield, which is what most of the U-boats had. And Dan says, first of all, thanks for the compliments on his stuff. And he also says he's finishing up drawing up the battery cabinets for the U33B he'll be uploading. So if you go on to printables, because that's where Dan uploads his stuff now instead of Thingiverse, and just search for Manimal, as you'll see the name Manimal there, you can find all of his prints. And when he uploads them, I'll try to be timely and get them added to the list. And the final thing, I don't know if this was a new one that, dang it, new tab again. I'm going to have to work on that. I don't know if this was a new file you did, Dan, or if this is one you had from before. I can't remember, but this is actually a file to print a replacement fuel tank for the U25. So if you got one and it's missing it, you're welcome, right? Because you do all the hard work. I just watch. I just watch. you do some pretty amazing stuff. And I have to say, I really like seeing when you do the poll test as well. That's actually kind of a unique thing to see. Not too many people check that out. So I think that is the last file I had from the new stuff that Dan had uploaded. Yep. But as you can see, there's other stuff on here, trucks and different things. Brian, that's in the chat somewhere, this is actually files for his roller bearing side frames with generator caboose trucks. And if you have links to, and I'm looking for 3D prints that are free to download. Like I don't want to mess around with paid stuff. I also don't want people just sending me files because, like I said, I don't host any of this. But if you got links to some G-scale stuff and I'm looking for stuff that's more complete, not a work in progress, and you think it'd be something good to list on the site, then by all means send it on over to me, and I'll see if I can get it added onto here. Because it's nice to have a repository. How about some -9 Windows shades? Oh, you mean for 3D printing, Paul? I don't want to say Bachman has those. I think that Bachman should be getting parts at some point. And in answer to the fuel tank, Dan said that's when he did before. And Mikey says, did he post the flared radiator grill? Did I not show that? Or are you talking about the actual screen that's in there, Mikey? Oh, you know what? Wait, do I have? All right, hang on. I thought I had that in there. Maybe I missed it. Well, let's take a walk in Manimal Land. Let's see. Oh, I did. Shame on me for missing that. I think what was I scrolled down and I saw this thing for wheel lug nut caps, and then I got distracted. Oh, so you're saying you asked Bachman, Paul, and they are not going to have the sunshades available. I haven't seen files for it. I'll have to look and see if there's any out there. If you come across any, let me know and I'll add them on there. So this here is the replacement rear section, because the U25, again, is the oddball out of the bunch. There's no flare on the rear radiators on this. It's a pretty simple setup. So what Dan has here is actually a print to add the flared radiator section to the back. You can see in the CAD drawing mock-up there a little bit more what it is. There's other parts that go in there, and it says there's 7 different files. So I'm guessing he's got files. Yeah, he's got files for the doors and all the different things. And then I believe the screen is actually, you got it listed on here somewhere, I thought, Dan. Let's see. All right. I thought you used like some sort of like real fine screen mesh for the cover on that, Dan. And as Mikey says, thanks for sharing, Dan. We always appreciate your contributions. Even when it's 1 a.m. and I don't realize I'm still chatting with you and I go, holy crap, I got to go to work in the morning. All right, so let's see here. Looking at the giveaway stuff, I see no more comments coming in there for it. So let me stop the scroll there. Remove myself from the stream. It probably got better for about half a second, right? Let's see. All right, so I need to switch what I am sharing here. Let's see. So the mesh that Dan uses in that radiator section is 1 millimeter mesh. All right, so I need to. That's right. I forget some people are not in the U.S. watching. It's 3:12 there. So let me think. Is it Sunday where you're at, Rikus, or is it, or are you on Monday already? I can't remember. I know when I talk to Paul Carr in Australia, I always call him the future man because he's ahead of me. Let's see. I need to share a different tab. Bear with me a moment here as I work some magic. Or not. Let's see. All right. I found the right window. And let me get rid of the banner down there. All right. So it's Monday morning where you're at. Okay. I guess I can call you a futurist as well then. You'll have to let me know what the winning lottery numbers are. Wait, could that cause a time paradox? I forget how Back to the Future works. Don't do that. All right, so we got 34 people that entered in for the RLD Hobbies gift certificate. So let's see who our lucky winner is going to be tonight. Technically, I guess Nico probably could have entered since he wasn't on the stream as a co-host tonight, but I guess he's going to get robbed by... Hey, Ted Descaris, you are our lucky winner tonight. I would tell you how to get a hold of me, but you already know how to get a hold of me. So I believe you actually sent me an email tonight. I will just reply back to that with the info on your gift certificate. Congratulations on winning that. And again, thank you to Robbie at RLD Hobbies for contributing that tonight for our giveaway. So let's see. I think we pretty much covered through everything we needed to tonight. Rigged. Well, if it is, it's not on my end. Yeah, congratulations, Ted. It was it the last, I'm trying to think. Was it the last stream? Last month it was Ted's birthday, and I know everybody wished him a happy birthday, so I guess that can be a late birthday present for you, Ted. And I got my friend Steven messaging me telling me he got robbed. Well, I'm the bringer of joy. What can I say? So give me 1 second here. Make sure I didn't forget something. Nope. So I will mention. Oh, you had to bring that up, didn't you, Larry? So I had pictures of that, and I didn't even show that. When Larry's talking about the drag races, we're not talking about Larry in a Speedo and high heels, by the way. I don't know why I said that. People are starting to picture it. I apologize. What's that, Rikus? If you're looking for excellent brass mesh, photo-etched green stuff, World in Spain has packets with 2 sheets in. Lovely stuff. Interesting. Oh, you're welcome again, Ted. I hope that you had a really good birthday. Everybody should always enjoy their birthday. I don't know why I don't have a picture of it. So at the BTO convention this year, when they say drag races, there were 2 different classes, as you would say. One was racing the Pico, one of those 25 tonners, I believe. And the other one was the LGB Fortuna Flyers that are I don't have a picture of one, but they're basically, they're the fan-driven 2-axle cars. The wheels are just ball bearing. The fan actually propels them. And when Larry mentioned about winning the drag races, I have to mention that Scott Fowler won the whole drag race hands down. I was kind of suspicious that he was the guy also working the controls. I'm just giving Scott a hard time. There was no cheating involved that I know of. But that was actually a really good time as well at the convention. Everybody was there. Everybody was involved in racing. It was really, really fun. Also watching other hotel guests come in and try and get down the hallway while we're doing it, looking at us saying, these people are crazy. What the heck are they doing? And they're probably partially right. So the next live stream will be on the 27th, so 3 weeks from now. And I apologize. Try to stick to the live stream being the last Sunday of each month. It gets shuffled around for different reasons. So this stream should have been last Sunday, so it got kind of moved off. So the next stream will be on the 27th, 3 weeks from now. Nico will be back, so you don't have to just look at me. You can bask in Nico's glory. Might have to turn the brightness down. You're welcome, John. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I see I got a few people that enjoyed the show tonight. Oh, you're welcome, Andrew. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. So 27th, Nico will be back. I don't have an exact lineup for you what we're going to be doing. I will tell you, as you see behind me, I do have my GP60 that came with factory electronics. I'm working on doing a proper review video for it to just kind of show you everything with that. One thing I will show you real quick, so you can see underneath the top, with the exception of the red button, which I installed for my Revo, that's actually what is underneath the top panel on the GP60. You have a charging jack for onboard battery. You have this switch actually flips between running and charging, and this one actually flips between rail and battery pickup. So what is inside of this, the board that's up on top underneath this, if it was open, let me set this back over here before I drop it. When you take that shell off, there's actually 2 screw contacts. Trying to think if I got something here to show you. Really similar to this Revo board. So you got these screw terminals here where you can just shove the wires in and tighten them up. There's one of these blocks up in there that is a connection for a battery. So when you do an onboard battery, which, by the way, I believe Robbie at RLD actually has a battery made up that fits the fuel tank on the GP60 real nicely. You can actually wire the battery directly into that board, and you're good to go. You've got your charging jack on top and all of that. But what I did, says I don't run onboard battery. You can buy your battery plugs as you see here. Is I ran the pigtails out each end as you saw on mine, and I ran them in, and I actually just connected both of these to that terminal block at the top. And I do have Revo in mine, but even without Revo in there, you can run them right into that block. And if you want to do like you did on the Aristo stuff where they had the track battery switch where you could stick a boxcar or something behind it with a Revo in it or some other control system and a battery and run it that way, you can do that with the GP60. You can run those battery plugs pretty simply, connect them in there. You can flip the switch on the top, the battery, and you can run it that way. Now, what I do when I go to somebody's place that doesn't have track power is I stick a battery in a box car or another car. I can just plug it in and use the factory switch. And I did test it on that. When you flip that switch, it's not just cutting off one connection. It's cutting off full connection to the rails. It's a proper term I'm looking for, double pull, double throw instead of a single pull. But I'm working on a video to do a proper review on that. And we may talk some more about the GP60 on the next live stream. I might be able to show you a U33B that was made using these files that Dan drew up, that Nico's son Vincent was working on. I'll have to see where he's with that, if he would like to show that on the next show. But keep an eye on the website, largescaletrains.com. I'll update that with details on the next live stream as soon as I have it. But we'll be back, Nico and I, on the 27th. I thank everybody for tuning in tonight and watching and bearing with me. It's the first time I've done one actually by myself without a co-host, without a guest. So hopefully it wasn't super unbearable. So, and I see everybody in the chat there with their thank you. And with that, I'll quit rambling. I will say good night, everybody, and I'll see you again in 3 weeks when Nico's back. Good night, everyone.